Hey guys, welcome back to Experience Gained. This is episode 5, and as you can see, we have Seiishizo here. Welcome on, sir. Thank you for joining us. I know with time zones it's a little bit difficult, so I really appreciate you making time to come actually be on the show here with us. So tell us about yourself. I'm sure a lot of people know you. You do a lot of Twitch, you do a lot of YouTube, you are an SWC contender. There's a lot to know, but for those who have never seen you before or don't know a lot, tell us about yourself.
Okay, so good for being here, definitely. Been a regular watcher for the show for ever since the first week.
I'm
Gonna
glad you
continue to
like
watch.
it.
I love these kind of things. So yeah, I'm Seiishizo. I've been playing for about the last 6.5 years now, I guess. Play daily, Europe surfer. Played the last 3 years of SWC. I do YouTube, a lot of YouTube, not that much Twitch. Got some internet issues from time to time, so Twitch makes it more difficult. But been doing a lot of YouTube lately and enjoying it. Yeah, definitely.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I noticed there's been a lot of videos up there. You mentioned earlier you had a ghost pepper video, so I gotta go check that out after
Yes.
our interview here.
Yes. Yeah, that's my only non-Summoners War related video so far.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's cool. That's cool. I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff. Like you get stuff out there pretty quick. A lot of testing videos, a lot of Onimusha videos, a lot of Onyoji videos. Kind of seen it all.
I was grinding on those videos. I did like 5 or 6 videos on one day, and then the next day I was like, this was too much. And then I still did 3 more videos because I got my hands on like a bunch more LD accounts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was too much.
Yeah, it's hard. It's like it's really bursty, or like it ends up being grindy. You just wear yourself out too easily. But
it is.
As always, the first topic. I want to know how you got into Summoners War.
Okay, so I've told this story before a few times, but still not that many people know it. So it's actually pretty weird and long story, but I'll try to keep it short. So I played Summoners War like the very first time. Like I think it was just on release. I played like another Countwas game, which was single player, and then I saw Summoners War. I played it for a little bit. Completely didn't understand anything of the game. So I had an Ardella, which was one of the best units, 3-star, and then I saw everyone like having 4 stars and 5 stars. I'm like, how are they doing this? And I was like, oh, power up circle. You have to feed units to your 3-star to make them 4-star. I'm like, that makes sense. So I fed my whole team into Ardella, and I had no more units, and I couldn't clear anything anymore. I'm like, this game is shit. I'm out.
You fed
I had
everyone
one 4-star Ardella. I had
Damn.
one 4-star Ardella. I fed my whole like level 25 team in up to Ardella. I was like, this game shit. What? So yeah, I quit playing, and then I think like a year later or something, I was playing like a different game. It was like some Final Fantasy gacha collector kind of game.
Record Keeper or like, Brave Exvius?
I think the Brave something.
Yeah, I used to play Brave Exvius. That's a good game.
Yeah, it was the game where you had to manual pretty much everything. There was no autoplay in it. Yeah, that was that one. So always big Final Fantasy fan, but at some point I was traveling a lot, so I was like, okay, trying to find like a mobile game to play. And then I was at that time I also had a Facebook account of 5,000 friends, which was a bet with a friend that you can get 5,000 friends on Facebook with one cute picture, which in the end, through some software engineering and some macroing and that kind of stuff, it worked out. I won that bet. And then it was like around the time of Candy Crush that people were always sending you like Candy Crush invites for lives and that kind of stupid stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Was never into Candy Crush. So I was like, what if I use this account of 5,000 friends to just get like really OP in a game or something? I was like, oh, I played this one game, Summoners War. It was pretty fun. I didn't understand it. Maybe I should read something into it. And then I'm going to use the referral link and maybe get like an OP start. When in the end, the referral link gave me 0 results, nothing at all. But yeah.
I was expecting like some crazy story with that. I was expecting like, I pulled like 3.5s. Like that's where I got my Chiana. I was like, whoa.
Nothing. I got absolutely 0 on request, literally 0 on request. But I started playing, I started reading Reddit, I started watching like some of the way back like YouTubers. Had like a dungeon team within 2 weeks. I cleared TOA normal within like a month, and all free to play back. You're not gonna spend on this, right? Oh, how wrong was I? But
yeah.
But it actually took me about a year and a half or 2 years to start spending, though. But yeah, I just started playing, and I started playing daily and really enjoyed it. But actually, like, some people are asking because my Gianna is my first net 5, but it came from TOA hard 90 that I was already clearing for like 6 or 7 months at that time. So
crazy
it
though.
took
Your
me a while to
first
get a
nat
net 5.
5 is an LD nat 5 of all things.
Yeah, that's really crazy. But then on the other hand, like, most people would have quit if they played that actively for half a year plus. I think I was playing about 9 months or something without an LD5. But it also really helped to really focus on progression.
Yeah.
I was Devil Morning Beretta. I was Devil Morning like stuff for TOA Hell. Not that I recommend you to Devil Morning Beretta, but
yeah, but
it kind of
okay,
helped out for
back then there were
progression.
like less options. Like everything was harder in the game back then. There were just
Yeah,
less options
definitely.
overall. So like playing the game was difficult. Right.
It
Nowadays
was.
things are pretty straightforward. It's good. It's clean. The progression system is nice, but I still can't believe you went 9 months without a single nat 5 at all.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. I have no clue how many scrolls that would be. It's like it's all free to play, so it was not like that I spent like a lot of money on scrolls or something, but it's still like
Probably
you
like
you see
600
your
something back
guild
then.
chat.
Like back
You
then
see
that
your
would have been 600-ish, maybe 700.
yeah,
Nowadays though, nowadays that would be like over 1,000 easily.
yeah,
And
easily with
you'd have
all the
twice as many legendary scrolls, twice as many LD scrolls.
yeah, definitely. But also like the events, you get so much from events these days.
Well, back then we used to get lucky if we got an event like once a month. We'd be happy to get it. We'd be
True,
like, "Oh my god, guys, the event is out. It's time to farm the
true.
event." Nowadays it's like, "Oh
Yeah.
my god, we have 3 events going. What do I do?"
Well, it's even like I heard someone say if you want to re-roll an account right now, you got the double compensation plus like the event or something, and if you start a new account right now at this time, you get like 41 scrolls on a new account,
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
and
It's
that's
pretty
just
crazy.
for
Like
a random
re-rolling now
moment.
is re-rolling used to not be a viable strat. Like if you re-rolled in Summoners War, you did it because like you just really wanted something specific, but it was time consuming and you really didn't get very much.
Nope. And now at least for like even without events, you still get like I think like 11 scrolls, maybe 12 or something.
Yeah, like nowadays re-rolling is so easy and so viable.
It is. It
Maybe I
is.
should start telling people
But
to
still
re-roll
really
their starter
boring.
accounts. Reroll your starter account, get a really good nat 4 and nat 5 and just start. Doesn't even have to be anything
But
like crazy, just something.
yes, but I would say that for like returning players rather than new players, because I had the same issue with like playing other games. If you would have to start re-rolling, you have to do the same thing over and over, and it kind of devalues the fun of the game, like right away on the start of
Yeah.
your gameplay.
I
And
usually tell people to do 2 accounts if they're going to do a reroll on one of them. So you play one out and you just progress and progress,
yeah,
and the other one you re-roll until you get something you want, because then you learn how to play the game from the first account and you don't get bored from re-rolling.
yeah, that's a good one. That's definitely a good one. Yeah,
Yeah, I do that with every game that I start. If I start a new game, I re-roll the first account to get just anything. Start with anything that's okay, right? And then I'll play it while I re-roll a second account at the same time.
yeah,
And I
and then
can
you can
like
also like for the moment you get the good unit, you can also like recorrect your mistakes you made on the first account. Because
exactly, especially
to be honest, you're
when
gonna
it's a
make
new
mistakes.
game that has like no information about like
Yeah,
what's good, how to be efficient, stuff like that. You just have that extra opportunity to make those mistakes for yourself, right?
definitely a good strat. I like that one.
But yeah. So you mentioned traveling a lot earlier when we were bringing
Yes.
that up. I guess that kind of goes into the second topic. I want to just kind of jump right into it because I feel like the second and a half topics are going to be a lot bigger for this kind of interview. For those, a lot of people don't know, but you're from the Netherlands, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, but you live in China.
Also correct. Yes,
Yeah.
I live in
So
Shanghai.
tell me a little bit about that. How did your life lead you to that? What kind of choices did you make? Was it something that
Yeah.
you particularly like planned and wanted to do, or was it something you kind of just like stumbled into?
A bit of both, I would say. But well, first of all, I'm coming from a family that travels a lot. Like growing up, my grandparents were never in the Netherlands. They had a house in Spain. They were always like somewhere else than not in Spain. They were
Mhm.
always traveling and that kind of stuff. So most of my family is always like somewhat abroad. So during my time at university, I did some internships abroad. Um, a bit too many. My school didn't like me for going that many times, but they agreed to it. I was like, yeah. they were like, he's never gonna do 3 in a row. So I did 3 semesters in a row abroad in all 3 different countries. So they were like, he's not gonna do that.
So what
Yeah,
countries did you go to?
I went half a year to Romania. Then it was like the summer holiday at home. Then I went half a year to China, different city than Shanghai. And then was a week and a half at home, and then did half a year in South Africa.
Nice. That's actually pretty cool. So of the 3,
Yeah.
what was your favorite and why?
China was by far my favorite. It was just the environment, but also like the country. I felt more connected with the country than the other 2 countries, and also the things I had to do there were more chill. So that also helps out a lot. I didn't have to work that hard there. I had a lot of time for like just leisure things, just traveling around, meeting people, hanging out with people. So yeah. And that kind of led into that. Well, then I was finished with my bachelor. I started working. I didn't have the idea of doing a master's at that time. And then my friend I was with to China with before. No, wait. First, I did traveling around. So after my bachelor, I did a gap half year. And first, I wanted to study Chinese in China. We couldn't arrange like a good scholarship for that. So then we were like, it's a bit pricey. Let's just travel around in China, because then you have more time, you can see more, and yeah, let's just do that. So did that for 3 months. Saw a lot of cities. And then I was working, and my friend was applying for a master's. I'm like, I don't want to do a master's. I'm a bit older than him. And then I started working, and within like a month of working, I'm like, this place is shit. I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna apply for that master's as well. Fuck it.
So are you currently in your master's, or?
Yeah, I'm currently still in my master's. I had to extend it a bit because of like some issues they changed some rules and they made it a lot more difficult, and it almost feels like PhD while not doing PhD. And with the COVID, it also like slowed down a bunch of things. But I'm probably graduating somewhere in like June, July.
Nice. Getting close though. Getting close to the end of that journey there.
Yes.
Starting a new one as
definitely.
always.
Yeah, we'll see what that's gonna be, because everyone is like, well, asking me for the last years, like, what are you gonna do after? I'm like, graduate and then I'll see.
Yeah, you'll see. It's no stress.
Yeah.
So what exactly is your master's in?
Software engineering.
Engineering, cool.
So my field of research right now, which I'm not that interested anymore, is virtual reality.
So okay. So you say you're not interested in it anymore. What got you interested in it? What kind of got you towards that idea?
Well, to be all fair, like the moment I applied here, you had to choose for a supervisor, and you just had to email them, and none of them was replying back until this guy from the digital art lab replied me back, and it was like, okay, I'm doing VR, it seems.
I see. So it's kind of just like this is the only option kind of thing, right?
Kind of. Well, it is digital art, so I could have went into like simulations and computer graphics or computer animations, but let's say I was not that crazy good with math as the people are here. So I was like, okay, virtual reality, more user study related kind of things. I can do that.
Mm-hmm. I see. That's kind of cool. So I didn't know a lot of that. I know we've known each other for probably 4 years now. Probably about 3 or 4 years. You know.
Yeah, I guess so.
You've slapped me around on RTA ladder a couple too many times throughout the years.
True. Well, I also played in your tournaments, like.
It's true.
Yeah,
I used to run that. That's been so long.
Yeah,
that's what, like 3 years ago.
2 years back. Yeah, could be. Yeah,
it's been a long time. Yeah, I used to run tournaments every 2 weeks, I think, with crystal rewards. Times.
Yeah, I think so. Every 2 weeks or every week. It's not.
No, you won a lot of them. You won a lot of them.
Yeah, that's my year that I played a lot of random tournaments and I won a lot of them. And then in SLWC, I didn't win it.
Yeah, I remember. That was a rough year. That was the year that Shen won?
No, Shen never won.
I think no, I think he won Europe though, didn't he?
No, he got second in Europe. He got second in Europe in 2018, and I think then from 2018 to 2019, you were hosting a lot of tournaments. Yeah. And then the year after, Shen also played, but he also lost in the first round to Baus, who got second at that time.
Yeah, Baus is OP. Ah, Europe, strong, dude.
Europe is doing really well. Like compared to 3-4 years back, there was like 1 or 2 Europeans in the top 100, and now it's, I think, like close to 10 or something, which is big improvement.
Yeah, big improvement for sure. Actually, speaking about those old tournaments, it reminds me. Does DGP still play Summoners War?
He does play. He just doesn't play that much RTA.
I
He's
see.
kind of struggling in RTA, I guess, but he's if you check the Siege tournament right now, he's in the current guild, which is gonna be probably number 1 or number 2.
Ooh, nice. Yeah, so Siege and Guild Wars seems really a lot more competitive in Europe than it does in global. Mostly because I feel like there's a better distribution of strength, but I don't know if that's actually true because I feel like that's kind of shifted. I think it used to be more distributed, like there were a lot more stronger guilds, and I think now you kind of have on what global has, where there's only like a couple super strong guilds, then a lot of people have just been like, it's just not worth it anymore. What do you think? What are
Kind
your
of
opinions
true.
on that?
I would say we have a top 2 that's really above the rest, but then you would say like the other top 6 kind of like the 2 or like the 3 to 6 is pretty even, and what comes after is still pretty strong. It can still do like good damage on a good day, but then it starts like lacking off from there, I would say.
I
But
think we've
yeah, I think in general, Siege, we have quite a lot of like people that really focus on Siege and not focus that much on RTA, and that shows off definitely.
Yeah, it seems like global has definitely done that. Like SSA is like on their whole, so like Mali being number 2, like Mali is really strong, right? And they're on like a whole nother level.
Yeah.
And then there's SSA who's on another level above that. And then there's like all the guilds.
Yeah.
Like there's like the 6 to 8 guilds below that are like, we can contest each other. Some are stronger than others, but like they can kind of contest each other. But it's like, there's just 2 guilds that like reign supreme, and then everyone else got to duke it out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But
Well,
it's,
I kind of see it with like every server. If you check like with every server how the tournament bracket looks, in every server it's pretty similar. So you have like the 4 main guilds coming in at like the third round, and there's pretty much not a single server where not all 4 of those win those rounds.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like Guild Wars and Siege in general, especially with Siege Tournament, has progressively gotten more and more like more and more stagnant almost. Like it becomes there's just like 4 dominant guilds, and then everyone else just fights and tries their absolute best, but it's just hard, you know?
Yeah.
Guilds don't change over as much as they used to.
True. But it's also really hard to set up, like, let's say you would set up a new guild. You would need to find like 20 or like 24 other people which are like equal to the strength of one of the main guilds, which is that's a lot. You would have to steal from like other guilds to form,
it's
like,
really hard to do that
guild
without poaching from other guilds. Like you have to poach from like a couple from every guild basically. Yeah. But yeah.
So were you in the Siege tournament also?
No. I haven't.
Okay.
I haven't done competitive Siege in a long time. I just like to lurk people's chats and like see what their strategies are and stuff, and talk about things. Just kind of like see what people are doing and how they approach and why.
Yeah, exactly.
I might go back to a real like a G30 guild soon. There was a period where I created a guild. We did really good. It was just too hard though. Like we had 15 members, and it was just too hard to like actively compete in a high level of Siege.
Yeah,
and it just became too
you
much
miss
work.
50. Wait, yeah, you miss like 100 attacks every Siege.
Yeah,
if you're with 15 people, it's impossible.
I mean, we were still competing. Like, we were still competing in G3. The problem was if we fought somebody who was equal to us, like we really needed the defenses to carry, and it was kind of difficult to get more than like 5 wins on a defense before it just goes down. And retaking the towers just become a pain, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it really does favor like the extra manpower. It favors the extra attacks pretty heavily, as long as you can beat that defense, right? As long as 1 or 2 people can beat that defense, then it does favor.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's like I played Farm Siege for quite a while too, and then I switched to Doubt, which I'm currently still in. And at some point, even at like really low ranks, there's always this moment that any defense would go down.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like,
Yeah.
it's funny though when you're siege farming and you fight another siege farming guild, and then they're like, we're just gonna take all your towers, and then they just can't beat anything on your defenses, and you just laugh. You're like, we would have given you like half the points, but now you get nothing. Now you get nothing for being cocky.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind going to a G3 guild again. I think it'd be a nice change of pace. I've been either siege farming or just like achievement farming. I don't know if you're familiar with achievement farming.
Yeah, I heard about it, but I never did the achievement farm.
It's pretty effective, actually. So we used to get like 600 stones a week, I think. On top, so we get our siege farming bonuses, and then we get also 600 stones a week, and all the crystals from the achievements, which are not bad either.
Yeah, it's pretty nice, but it kind of counters the purpose of, like, for me, I never called it siege farming. I rather call it like chill siege, and it kind of like contradicts the purpose of a chill environment if you have to switch all the time. And I was organizing like 3 guilds. I pretty much like organized the whole siege chill, siege farm, whatever you want to call it. And I do less right now in my current guild as what I used to do in like the farm siege.
Oh yeah, if you're the one who organizes the farming for siege, it's just a pain. Yeah, it's such a pain.
You have to switch, you have to check where we're going, you have to like lower these other guilds in rank, and it's annoying.
Yeah, the achievement farming was nice
to kill the guild war and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and then they nerfed it. They nerfed siege farming, so it just became like less and less valuable. It's nice though. It's nice though because they made higher end guild content more relevant and more rewarding. So overall, like, I'm pretty happy with the way things were changed. Even if it like didn't benefit me particularly, it benefited the overall community in a better way, I think.
Yeah, I think it was a good thing to nerf it. Like, they nerfed it even like 2 or 3 times in total. But I think it's a fair thing to do. Totally.
Yeah, because they nerfed the ability to farm it, but they didn't nerf like it as a like overall. Like, they didn't nerf G1 Siege, right? They nerfed one player getting a ton of stuff from G1 Siege. Sorry, we were talking about, I can't even fucking remember.
Oof, I don't know.
I think
we're talking about Siege.
Yeah, we were talking about siege farming.
Like,
we were talking about siege farming.
Yeah, siege farming.
And like the lucrative and the changes. We were saying like it's a good change overall and that stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that actually led me kind of into the next question that I wanted to ask, which was, when did you decide to like start playing the game competitively? And I don't mean competitively like you wanted to get like G1 in arena, you wanted to get like into a G3 guild. I mean, like, when did you start taking the game seriously where you were like, I want to be one of the best players in the world? I mean, I know you push for Arena Legends. I know you're an SWC contendant. I know you're now in a G3 guild that competes in Siege Tournament. Like, when did that click and kind of what led you to that?
Well, pretty much always has been in there. Like, I won't say necessarily from like moment one that I start playing the game, but most of the time, any game I play, I want to be on like some kind of high score list, be one of the better ones or one of the best, and that's pretty much throughout like every game that I played. It's been in there. I know you play MapleStory. Even in MapleStory, I did that. So
a lot of MapleStory hours. Too many MapleStory hours.
Definitely. So, I think it was in there pretty much from the start. And at some point, I was in a G3 guild. Like, I think after playing for a year and a half or 2 years. But I also Arena G3. I've been getting that for like the last 4 years or something. So been always up there kind of. And RTA actually started more or less around like end of 2018 that I was pushing more for RTA. And that's I think I got my first G3 in the last season of 2018 or something.
That would have been season 6?
Yeah, 6 or 7, I guess. That would be, yeah.
That's a long time ago. What are we on?
Yeah, that was.
What are we on now? 15?
We're on 16. That was the last season where G3 was only top 100. After that season, they switched G3 to top 300.
Damn, it's been like that for a long time now, huh?
Yeah, that's 10 seasons pretty much.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I get it. I mean, wanting to be the best, wanting to be on the leaderboards. It's always a little fun challenge, right? Whether it's to challenge your friends or to challenge
Yeah.
yourself and all that stuff.
Yeah, you always got to set goals in like anything in life, I would say. Otherwise, you're doing things without a purpose. And for some people, that really works out. For me, if I do things without a purpose, I get bored.
I feel that. I also get bored and then do stupid things like spend money.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree. I think a lot of players can take that
Uh,
mentality, and like even if you're not
yeah.
pushing to be the best player in the world, something I find really important with Summoner's War, and something that I think a lot of people get burned out in, is they have unrealistic goals and unrealistic
Yeah.
expectations, and you get burnt out because you're like, either I can never achieve this, or you sit there and you're like, I have to spend a shit ton of money, or it's just not something I can do. And so what I
True.
oftentimes suggest people to do is to either take a break or reanalyze your goals, right? If you
Yeah.
are, let's
That's the
say,
thing.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's definitely, I agree with you, because set small goals. Don't go for like, oh, I want to be like, I just achieved G1. I want to be G2 next season. That's pretty fanatic. Let's call it that way. You're probably not gonna make that. And throwing like another like, I don't know how much money against your phone is also not gonna help you get there. So
Hmm.
yeah, I agree with you. Small goals, small steps, you'll get there.
Yeah, it's about improving your ability to play the game at the same time that you consistently allow your mental state to improve alongside it, right? With RTA, and this
Yeah,
one's especially notable, people always talk about like, I can't improve, I suck at drafting, blah blah blah. I just got these new units, or my runes have just improved, but I can't improve. I'm like hard stuck because I just don't know how to do blank. It's because people set
yeah,
this unrealistic precedence that like if you pull blank, you can just build it, everything's good. Like I pulled a Chung Pong a couple
yeah,
days ago, and like I know Chung Pong is insane, and I know Chung Pong will improve my
yeah,
gameplay, and it already has, right? But for the first 3 days, I was like, I don't really want to rerun my account. I'm just gonna throw runes on him, and I played with him, and I was like, man, this sucks. And I even said it too. I said it, guys. Chung Pong is OP, but I am too lazy to re-rune, and therefore I am doing terribly with it, right? And everyone's like, but Chung
true.
Pong Oki Water View is OP. And I'm like, yeah, if the turn order is correct, it's OP. And
Yeah,
even now, like I
exactly.
wouldn't even say my turn order is correct because my Oki moves before my Chung Pong by like 25 speed, right?
Oof, yeah, that makes it difficult. Yeah, at some point you just got to rework like whole accounts to make things work, because you pulled this one new unit, but it could even be this one rune.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think that's an issue what I see with like a lot of accounts. It's like, okay, first six best runes go on the best unit, and the second six best runes goes on the second unit. It's like, sounds cool and all, but some runes, just because of some substats, fit better on the second or the third or even the fourth unit. Well, it's actually your best rune.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore you just have create so much more synergy between like teams and comps, and some units just excel so much more for having a specific rune rather than having an overall speedy rune or anything like that. So yeah, in this case, like for example, Chung Pong, just make the Okeanos slower and you're probably gonna improve your game.
Mm-hmm. Like I think it was season 5, and I bring this up a lot when I stream, but I think in season 5, do you remember Tiger from Global Server?
Yeah,
So
yeah, totally.
Tiger said to me one time in my stream, I asked him, I was like, I can't improve, like I'm struggling. Like I get G2, but I'm struggling. I want to get better. And he goes, have you tried making all of your units 5 speed slower and just giving them more stats? And I was like, why would I do that? Like why would I want to be slower? And I did it, and I improved so much. Like I went from like skirting G2 like regularly. I think that was my best season ever. I finished rank 405. Um and it came down to me realizing that going first is important and relevant if you have things that follow up. But another thing that's
True.
relevant about being fast is making sure that you have the stats to support the speed, but also remembering that it's important to have a team that's tuned really tightly instead of having bigger gaps and having a couple units faster. Right?
True.
Obviously, the goal is to
Yeah.
have everything tightly tuned at a high speed, but if you can't do that, sometimes it makes sense to just play for that like mid-tier second turn, right? Like if I have 2 units at
Exactly.
280 violent versus making like 4 units at 273 violent, very well it's possible that 273 sets could be better.
Yeah. But it's also the gap that is in there in general. Like, for example, you could have a 290 violent Okeanos, but any Swift unit will still outspeed it, even though it's a really good violent set. So would you break that down to two 285 sets instead of having one 190?
Exactly.
Because either way, Swift is going to outspeed you. Sure, you could outspeed more violence, true, but in general, anything that should outspeed you will probably outspeed you because it's Swift.
Yeah, it's
And
about
I think that's
understanding
also
like where it
mindset.
fits in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Yeah, because even like running like Swift units, sometimes you have to just accept that like this unit, there's no point building it within blank and blank speed because it won't serve the purpose, right? Like I ran a Swift Ganny to counter cleave, and my thought was, okay, this unit will be good if I have like a 10% speed lead, or if I have 25, I should never get outsped, right? Obviously, there's those 3 players who have the 200 plus 225 speed stats on Will, but like those are like extreme exceptions, right? There's a certain point where it's like if I run this unit with no speed leads, I have to ban a speed lead, and if they pick 2, I'm never gonna outspeed them, right? So there are like thresholds where you need to build things within, or where things just stop making sense, and I think that's something that I really learned.
But it's also difficult because you as a streamer definitely get the question often. It's like, is X speed equal to X rank? And the answer is always there's no X speed equal to anything.
Yeah.
It's the worst question you can get pretty much because there's no good answer to it. Because in the end, I got G3 for more than like 2-3 seasons with a Gianna that was 290 on Swift Will. It just had really good overall base stats and it did exactly what I wanted back at then. And it just worked, and everyone was like 310 speed. I was like, I don't care. I don't need it. And I was still getting G3s. So,
yeah, there's one example I always give. One of my friends, Rafflemaker, is a G3 player that has the fastest, like, I think his fastest unit in his drafts are like 270, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It can totally work. If you have the units for
it,
and
his teams
just
just obliterate units, though. But it's cool. It's cool because he's using a ragdoll either. It's not like he's using like a ragdoll Artemil comp and he's slow, right? Like he's consistently playing at that level without using like some sort of turn boosting strat, right? Where it's not like I need a ragdoll, so they either have to force ban the ragdoll or I get a million turns, you know? But yeah, that's definitely a common question. I think a lot of people ask that. I'm sure people ask you that a lot in your YouTube comments as well. It's like, I'm this fast on this unit. Can I get this rank? I'm like, maybe. Like for lack of a better way to put it, I'm not going to say no because that's not true, right? The answer is maybe. There are a lot of other circumstances that really depend on this.
Yeah.
Or people are always like, what do I, these are my units. What do I pick in RTA? I'm like, well, I mean, these things are meta and these things are commonly used, but it really comes down to like, what kind of runes do you have available for those units?
Yep. Also,
you can run CC Cleave with Chungpong, Ryu, Oki, but if you have 0 accuracy on all your units because none of your runes have accuracy and you have no accuracy slot 6s, you're probably going to lose a lot.
Yep, definitely.
You could build these great Beast Riders, but if you have no crit damage runes, what do you do?
Yeah. I think that's an issue that a lot of people have, like especially the play for like a longer time but never were that active in farming. You got way too many units and way too little runes. Like you could have like 30 meta units for RTA, but I would recommend you to rune 10 just because you don't have the rune depth.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that. I have 39 units runed.
Yeah, and that's for like lower ranked players. I think that's a big mistake to have too many units runed up.
Yeah. I think like 20 of them are just counter picks for dumb shit. Like whenever people pick Leo, I have like 6 or 7 counter picks for it just because it's more fun to like play around with different units, right?
Yeah, okay, but let's say you would need 1 or 2. You don't need 6 of those.
Yeah, it's just fun to pick different things. Like sometimes I'm like, today I feel like using Trevor. Like today I feel like using Perna. Today I want to use my Despair Annabelle. It's like just using all this weird stuff that like doesn't quite make sense, but it works. But yeah, it's definitely not recommended for trying to climb. Trying to climb is really about consolidating your runes into what makes the most sense, and having adequate options, right? It's something I always tell people is a counter pick is only as good as the quality of runes you give it, right? This unit could be incredibly good against so-and-so kind of comp, but if it has shit runes, it's just a liability. You picked it and it was a waste, right? People always tell me like, Tyler, why don't you run triple revenge Verd? I literally do not have a crit rate slot revenge rune that I can use. So I just don't run it because it doesn't work. It's not viable for me, right? So
I only
it's
have
about
one
making
of
what
those
you have work. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people get stuck in that mindset of, you know, if so-and-so uses it, then I should probably use it. It's like,
Yeah,
well,
then I have to use same thing, or
maybe.
like, why is his 160 something working and my 160 something not working?
Mm-hmm.
Different variables.
Different approach. Like play style is a big
Yeah.
difference too. Play style, drafting, actual decision making in the match is pretty significant. Like we all like we could play the same account. Like 10 different content creators could play the same account, and I guarantee you everybody would play it differently.
Yeah, totally.
Like
Very
maybe if it was like an Exodia comp, we'd all play the same. But like outside of like Exodia comps as the strict example, I think all of us would play it differently.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. A lot of people want to kind of like gain insight from us and from other players who play at a higher level. Obviously, you know, you playing at the top, I think people really people interpret what you say very strangely, and then they treat it like it's the Bible.
It does happen sometimes.
Like, and I guess this kind of goes into like another topic. This isn't necessarily a topic I had planned, but something I do want to talk about. So you've made a lot of tier lists over the years for different things.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people have taken your tier lists as the holy grail. Seiishizo said this, so it has to be like correct. Like there's no other opinion in the world that matters. And I find it appalling because I know you well enough to know that you would say that, and then you would say, well, this is just my perspective because of the way I play the game. And then the next thing you would say is, well, I have a Gianna, so the way I approach the game is differently than other people, right?
Yeah. Well, I try to keep in like as much non-biased as possible, but that's really difficult, like, to be honest.
It's just something you can't do, right? Like,
oh, it's so difficult, but yeah, that's where I also like value, like, if chat gives like comments, because mostly I make them on stream, or I also check like win rates. I'm a person that is pretty biased by win rate, definitely. So what works for the overall person does work for the overall person.
I think the hardest part about like comparing win rates though is your win rates include C3 plus, right?
It
anything
includes
on the replay?
everything that is in best, and I think everything that shows up in best is always like the top. I think it's the top 2,000 or something. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, something like that. But then, like, I mean, you know this, but the difference between like a G1 play versus a G3 play is pretty significant. Or like someone who's their first time in G1 loses that match, that win rate goes down, right?
Yep, definitely. So yeah, then it's like really big sample size, but even then and then it's also like, was this unit performing really well because it was always paired with another good unit? Like, for example, Lulu and Friends is really high on the win rate because it's mostly paired with Ragnar Ardo or something.
Yup.
So
there's
at some point you have to take in account, like, for example, the highest win rate unit on the list was Bearing because it's used with Han. Yeah. So it doesn't make that Bearing like the highest win rate, like the best unit, therefore? No, because if everyone started playing Bearing right now, the win rate would drop like dramatically. So yeah, that's why I also don't really publish like the data of these things, because people like, you have to watch it a lot and see how it goes up and down and what's it used with to see what that kind of stuff does and where it goes to. But for the tier list itself, yeah, I think some people would be like, okay, Seiishizo said it, so it is, which is, yeah, of course, true. Very
No, I mean, it's the same thing with anyone. Like when Fwa used to make tier lists, people would be like, Fwa said this, has to be true. Right? Yeah. Or like so and so said that. Like people just kind of like want to, they prefer, a lot of people I find prefer seeing something from a top player and kind of trusting it, right? They're like, okay, this seems like pretty valid information. I mean, the experience they have, their rank, all these things, like it shows, right? Like they've worked hard, they have achieved these ranks, therefore what they say must have at least some sort of weight, right? I think that I always just encourage people to think a little bit more for themselves. I think it's great to take the information from tier lists, as much as I don't like tier listing. I think that reading a tier list and reading the context behind the tier list, especially since you and Foy used to give a lot of context on your tier lists.
Yeah.
I think that reading the context is important, but the most important thing is taking that information and applying it to yourself instead of just trying to copy and paste it, right? Comprehending it
exactly.
and being able to utilize that information is a whole different skill in itself. And that's really what differentiates good players from great players.
True. And that's also the reason, like the first tier list I made, I just posted the tier list and I think I posted the video. And with the last tier list, I really specifically made it with the idea that people could look up what I think about a unit. So every specific unit had like a timestamp in the video to because there's so much, like if you would just say like, okay, this unit is all the way at the top, so it's the most OP unit, so if I pick this all the time, I'm gonna win. No, not really. And some units are like super high up, but they're really high up because they're an insane good counter pick. But would you start picking that unit all the time, it's not gonna work. So yeah, with those, like I try to give like as much context as possible, but then yeah, even then, like some people don't like to watch things that are too long, and people don't like to read things. They just want to see a picture. That's how it is. So then you got like a lot of like misinterpretations of like a lot of things in general. But I think
Actually,
so far I
it's funny
didn't
that
get
you
like
mentioned that
two
people don't like-
strange scenarios from making the tier list.
Oh, really? What are they?
No, I didn't get too many like strange.
Oh, you didn't
scenarios
get
from
too many. I thought you said you got two very specific ones. My bad. I
No,
misinterpreted
no,
what
no.
you said.
Actually, not at all. No,
That's
actually,
good.
no one like came to me. It's like, hey, this. People are always like, there's always a few units I would value high and other people would value low, but not that much like really specific. No.
Okay, quick fire question. Is Water Ryu one of the best units in the game?
Yes.
Is Oki also one of the best units in the game?
Yes.
Do you think Leo is also currently one of the best units in the game?
It's a really good counter pick.
Yeah. Yeah, Leo is the equalizer.
Leo makes you get away with like being slow, going for specific drafts, but it has the devalue of getting banned in some drafts. But
I find Leo the great equalizer. It's like if you don't have insanely good runes, you could pick a Leo and hope that guy bans it, right? And then you get your draft through. But
yeah, it can also be like you have like people who often do this with LD5s because people, whether they're good or not, people fear LD5s, which is also a really common mistake. Like if Gianna already did her third skill and you have no immunity or any buffs on your team, why would you kill Gianna first? But, yeah, people fear LD5s. Therefore, like same as Leo, people would just ban it because they feel like they have to ban it and therefore you can get your whole draft in or 4 other units. And yeah, that just works really well. And therefore, Leo's a really good unit. Yeah.
I think Leo's one of those units that really causes mind games for people. It causes people to stress out because they're not sure. It's one of those units that changes the play style of the match dramatically. Yeah. It's kind of like Ragdoll, right? You throw down a Ragdoll, like the match is now dramatically different because you have to take into account either the chances to crit repeatedly on AoEs, or you just have to accept that you're never getting a turn ever again. Like all these things, right? Like Leo is kind of the same thing. It like changes your play style. Like turn rotation and lapping people is not really a thing unless you have significant attack bar gain. It's I think RTA has slowly become more of a mind game than it has in the past. In the past, I think drafting is always important, right? Drafting is always probably the most important thing in the game. But right now specifically, because Nat 5s themselves are so strong and there's such a strong precedence on what's good in the meta, I think that the mind game units are the ones that really shake things up for people, especially people who don't know how to play against certain types of comps.
Yep, that's true.
Like being able to mind game somebody, like go fast and then swap to a slow team is something that people can't adjust against very easily.
Definitely. And the mind game with a Leo in particular is really big. Like it's the same if you have like one immunity unit on one side and then a really hard counter on it if the whole team has no immunity on the other side. Let's say a Rika. It's like, okay, so if he would ban my immunity, my best ban is Rika. But if he doesn't do that, any other ban would be the best ban, for example. And Leo is that pretty much in every match.
Yep. Yep. I've noticed that a
And
couple
then
a
it's
couple other cool ones that I've noticed is like, is this unit on Swift or is it on Violent? That's another mind game that's
yeah,
pretty good.
yeah.
So the one that gets me all the time is when people last pick Praha. I'm like, okay, if this Praha is on Swift, I lose. But if this Praha is on
Mm,
anything else, I probably win, right?
yeah.
Because there's
Not
a
that
couple
many
people that
pros are
run Swift
Swift though,
Praha, but
but
there's
yeah,
not a lot of them.
well, at some point, if you're really high in the top, you pretty much played everyone at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of know, but still, I also got like hella surprised. Like the other day, I had a 33 lead, and this Wunsa outspeed my Gianna.
With no
He had
lead.
0 lead, no lead. He had no lead. And then I started looking at it like, okay, he does well just by being swift, like super fast. You don't have to go will.
Yep.
You have so much more base stats that pretty much make up for half of the 33 lead. But still, I was like, this is a new one for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it gets me every time I fight those Bastet players, the G3 cleavers with Bastet. I'm like, okay, this guy's Bastet is plus 225 speed and it's on will. Like, okay,
Yeah,
that means that he has like 236 speed runes and then the rest of them are 32 or higher. I'm like, that's insane. That's actually insane.
it's crazy.
People are so fast,
But
dude.
yeah, but then again, like for people think like I need like full quad sets, like quad set speeds or quad roll speed to actually participate in like G3. Not at all. Not at all. High triple rolls with like good other substats is in a lot of cases better than having quad rolls.
Yeah, getting like 23 or 24 is usually enough. But getting
Yeah,
23 and
definitely.
24 is really hard, so it's not like you're going to get
That's
those pretty
already
commonly.
difficult. No, true, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they're still pretty difficult to get. Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about RT. We've talked about drafting. We've talked about how you got into the game. We talked about actually how you got into your living situation. Something that I want to
Yeah.
know is how you got into content creation and what drives you to continue it. Because you
Well,
said
actually,
internet
content.
struggles have been a thing for you while living in China, right? And I get
Yep,
it. Like
yep,
when
yep.
you have internet struggles, content is demoralized. You're like, why am I doing this? It is just
Yeah.
frustrating. Like I try my hardest to get shit done, but the world is against me. Like what drives you to make content? And what content do you like making the most?
So what drives me to make content? I made like even for Maple Story, I have one or two of like these really old videos out there. And I always was a little bit like I think it comes with like being competitive, also a little bit of like just showing like who I am. Well, if you care about being high on a leaders board, then you also kind of like care about showing who you are for a lot of people, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So that also kind of like drove into like some content back in the days. And then actually when I started doing content like more or like in general for Summoners War, I did some like really old Guild War videos which no one ever watched. But I started doing more content the moment I went to SWC 2018, and I saw like a lot of content creators there making like the vlogs and that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, it's pretty fun. It's pretty cool. So maybe I can do like a video here and there. And then I did some guides and that kind of things. And then it just went from like guides into like some extra content. And I always did like the rush hour. And yeah, from there, it just started like snowballing and like doing more and more. And the issue I have with internet pretty much just limits me for Twitch and not that much for YouTube because I can record a video right now. I could record 5 videos today and
Mm-hmm.
I could like post them every other day, like for out the next 2 weeks. And if my internet's really slow, yeah, it's just gonna take me 12 hours to upload a video, but my laptop is on anyway, so that doesn't matter too much. Just for Twitch, for live streaming, it's really terrible, and therefore I don't live stream too much.
Mm-hmm.
But for YouTube, it's pretty doable on like pretty shitty internet, actually.
It's good. So for content, what do you prefer? Like, what is your favorite content to make, and what is your least favorite content to make?
My favorite content to make would probably be the guides, like mainly the dungeon guides. I think I also get like most positive feedback on those kind of videos because, well, some people are like, yeah, I cannot make this team. I'm like, yeah, I'm just showing what you could make. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not saying.
Yeah.
So yeah, a bunch of those, but I try to like also with like beginner account and those kind of things to have like some easier content to to do. At least things I might like least to make content of. Like, to be honest, I don't really have that much of content that I don't want to make. Like, in general, because for me it's not a living. I don't do this for a full-time thing. For me, it's just a side thing during my studies. So I don't have to make a video today. I don't have to make a video the rest of the week. I make a video because I want to make a video.
Okay, let me rephrase the question then. What is the content that you find the most difficult to make?
Most difficult to make. I think in general, but the content that's just not watched that much. I think those are the most difficult to make. And what's not watched that much, yeah, it's kind of relative. Like sometimes the RTA videos, if you don't have, it's kind of like basis on what kind of viewer base you have, and then what do people like, what do people not like. And in general, for me, it's like I'm pretty much driven by how much do people like whatever I post. And the less views, well, it sounds really like view hogging or something, but the less interested it is for the people that are watching it, the least like motivated I am to make like or continue a series or to just go on with these things. So I guess something like that.
That makes sense. For me, it's videos that don't involve talking. If it's just like if I'm making like a highlight reel or like I'm showcasing something and I'm just like making edits for it, I don't like making that content because I feel really self-conscious because I'm really bad at editing. So
same. I
almost all of my videos I do in like one take. Like I one take the whole video and then I make like really tiny edits where things go. But I would rather record an entire video again instead of make like small edits just because I'm like super self-conscious about editing.
So I also like I started doing it more edits, but before like I had like, okay, guide video, just go with all the and buts.
Yeah.
Just keep everything in there. I don't care. Just post it. But I started doing more edits like afterwards, but it's still I don't have an editor. I'm not planning to get an editor. I just do everything by myself, kind of, except for the thumbnails. But yeah, like too much editing is also not something I like. I agree with that.
Yeah, I don't mind like doing like small cuts. Like if I like paused for a second, I need to cut something. Like I don't mind doing that, but I mean like adding music or effects or like memes. Like I'm so bad at that stuff. My brain is filled with memes and jokes and all that stuff. But it only applies on stream and in real life. I can't just like off the top of my head be like see something and be like that's the meme I'm adding to that, or like this is the meme I'm adding. This is the sound effect I want here. Like my brain just doesn't work that way. Just doesn't
it works more on the fly and not planned. And if you do it in an edit, it's like a planned fun moment.
I can't do that. Can't do it.
Yeah. Kind of got the same feeling.
Yeah. So I mean, that was good. We talked about a lot of things. There's a lot of interesting stuff. So I guess now it's time. You watch the series, so you can ask me your secret question, whatever it is. I have yours ready afterwards, but hit me with it. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, so I thought about this before, and like, what do you do or not do with really toxic comments or people really toxic in stream?
Okay, so I gave you two answers for this, two parts, because one is how I used to deal with it and one is how I deal with it now. So I'll go with the easier one first. How I deal with it now, if people are really toxic or have really bad behavior in the stream, I will just ban them. I will always give people a warning unless it crosses specific lines. I don't deal with any sort of bigotry. I don't deal with any homophobia. I don't deal with anyone who is transphobic, anything like that. I don't deal with any bullshit, basically. I consider myself to be a fairly good person. I would like my community to reflect that, right? We're inclusive. We look for people who are wholesome, people who actually care about other people, right? If you are a toxic asshole in my stream, I will ban you. And the reason I will ban you instead of what I used to do is because you're just not worth anybody's time. It's not about my time. It's not about their time. You're not worth anybody's time. You are disrupting an environment where people feel comfortable and safe and are enjoying themselves. You shouldn't be there. You simply don't deserve to be there, right? YouTube comments are a little bit different. YouTube comments, usually if people are really toxic, I try to just converse with them and have a discussion because or just ignore it because sometimes it's just not worth giving people the attention, right? Some people are toxic, but you can tell that they're being toxic because they're upset about something. They're not necessarily being toxic because they just want to be an asshole, right? In live stream content, usually people are just being an asshole. Obviously, there are exceptions where some people are like hurt about something or something you say is like they don't agree with it, blah, blah, blah. Like with the compensation stuff, right? Like I put a video out the other, like last week, or I guess when we post this video last week about Cocky being nerfed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some people were really upset about the things that were happening. And I was saying like, this is my suggestion for compensation. Obviously it doesn't have to go through like that, but these are my suggestions. And some people were really aggressive and mean with the comments. Like people were like, you know, if you double mind your Cocky, you deserve it. It's like, why are you victim shaming people? Like at the same time as like saying, I don't think that CompTOS should give significant compensation does not mean you also have to tell the person you fucked up and you're a shitty person and you're dumb for doing that. Like you can disagree with an opinion without telling someone they're like stupid, right? And that's kind of that frustration level.
I agree.
In the past though, with toxic comments and people who are assholes, I used to love trolling people. I would teach the troll a lesson. I would run them as long as I could for content because I didn't really care what they said or what they did. I thought it was a great time to just like fuck with them. You know, someone's an asshole, you just fuck with them as long as you want to. But something that a content creator said that I really connected with at one point. Her name is Lara8863. She's a piano player on Twitch and on YouTube. She does amazing piano covers of video game music. She said one time in a tweet, for every person you allow to be toxic in your stream, there are 5 people who are watching your stream that no longer want to be there and will never say anything about it. If you allow somebody to be an asshole, to be a bigot, to be homophobic, to be transphobic, to be a horrible person in your stream, in your community, in your workplace, whatever area of your life it is, you have basically you've basically told everyone else in that community, in that area, that this is okay, right? Silence, like your silence to those kinds of acts and those kinds of behaviors is basically consenting it. You're basically saying it's okay. If you don't stand up for the things you believe in and you don't stick up for the things you believe in, if you don't put an active stop towards things that you disagree with, you are complacent with them. Right? If you allow people to make racist comments in your stream, in your YouTube, in your whatever it is, you are allowing that behavior. You have every bit of power to stop it. You have every bit of power to put an effort at least towards stopping it. If you allow it to be there, it becomes a part of who you are. I mean, you watched my stream a long time ago. I was a toxic asshole for a long time because I didn't care what people said. People could be as toxic as they wanted. I didn't give a shit. I was toxic, right?
True.
And now I
totally get what you're saying.
Up.
Totally get what you're saying.
You know, I don't want to deal with people's bullshit. I've learned to stick up for myself, and in turn, I will use my influence and my power to stick up for other people and to teach people that it's okay to stick up for yourself. Yeah, that's a good question though. That's a really good question. I didn't expect. I didn't expect anyone to ask me that ever. No, that was solid. Wow, we really got into that. I'm heated. I'm passionate now. Feeling good.
Yeah, no, but I hear that, and that's good. Like I can hear from like everything. You're really like you're a family man. Like in general, everything you do, like whether it's your actual family, your friends. Like I don't know that. I just assume that, but I can just hear passion as a family man in general, and whether that's your stream community or any community. Yeah, totally.
I appreciate that. I think the hardest part about hearing that, like you say that, and I believe you when you tell me like I think you're a family man. It makes me think of all the times that I fucked up. You know, the times that like I was an asshole to somebody, or like I let something happen.
Everyone has their bad times for something.
Yeah. And I think it's and slowly I'm coming to terms with the fact that like it's okay to fuck up and it's okay to make mistakes. And sometimes it's not about fixing your mistakes because some things are irreparable, right? You know, you cross a bridge and it can't be rebuilt. You can't cross back over it. But it's about not forgetting the mistakes that you've made and learning from your past, really. It's about making improvements going forward in your life. And I try really hard to do that now. And it's difficult and it sucks to know that you fucked up and there's nothing you can do about it. But I think a big part of growing up is accepting it and being able to improve going forward with your life.
True.
Yeah. That was deep. That was good. I like that. Oh, I
That
got
was a good one.
tingles, dude. My question's not as deep for you. It was more of an interest based question. I'm definitely interested in you and your journey, kind of like with life and stuff. I
Mhm.
like knowing a lot about people and why they choose the things that they choose. I guess for me, since you were talking about how you're not really interested in doing VR technology anymore, or like the studies that you in with
Mhm.
your masters and stuff. If you could redo what you took in school and literally start from your undergraduate again, would you change it at all, or would you keep the same thing?
I would absolutely keep the same thing because it sounds a little bit arrogant, maybe, but I'm good at what I'm doing, and it's just a really good job market in general.
Hmm.
So therefore, like in general, my reason to do a master's is pretty much to make the same amount of money in less time, so I have more free time.
That makes sense. That makes
And
sense.
for me, like I'm really on the base that I don't care about expensive stuff. I do not care about a big house, a fancy car. Like if my car drives me from A to B or it drives me from A to B with 16 speeding tickets, what's the difference?
Hmm.
So I'm really simplistic in those kind of things. And for me, I just want to live a happy life. Like I'm doing a master's right now, and most of the people that do masters, they're really pushing for careers and like really good jobs. And for me, no, I don't care about that all of that stuff that much. For me, I just want to enjoy what I'm doing. And not gonna lie, there's probably not a single degree which I would say 100% like I'm always gonna like what I'm doing. And IT things, or like software engineering in this case, is something I do enjoy. Did enjoy it more in the past as I do right now, but I still kind of enjoy it. Um, but yeah, it also just makes good money that I have enough time for other things. So yeah, I wouldn't switch now.
That makes sense. Now that you say, like, you don't really care about like the materialistic things, but you want to have that money so that you have the free time. I understand the mentality with that, right? Like I
Yeah.
chose kind of the opposite of that, right? I chose the thing that is super fun to me that I love, but it's less money. So it's kind of like I get the free time and the fun time earlier, but then I got to work harder later,
Yep.
right? Whereas like the other way around for you. But it makes sense. I mean, logically, I have a lot of friends who are in similar positions where they're like, I want a good job so that I can live out my hopes and dreams and like all those other things that I want to do. And you know everyone has their own path and their own journey and their own reasons. And I think that that's a pretty good one. It's a pretty solid one. A lot of people will sit here and be like, oh, he just wants to make more money. It's like, yeah, but making more money just depends on what you want to do with it, right?
Yeah. Like in the end, like a lot of rich people, they work way too many over hours to then start spending money on shit they don't need.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you make the money in the first place?
Mm-hmm. I think pride is a big factor to a lot of things too, right? Like people have pride for different things. For me, for example, like a big one is I would never do a Raid Shadow Legends sponsorship, right? Regardless of the
I'm on with you on that one. I
I
got so
actually
many offers of that, and I, in general, I don't want to. I like if I brings anything to my community,
mm,
and I'm a guy of principle. I think you are too. I'm not gonna promote anything I would not play.
mhm.
Anything. If I don't play it, I'm not gonna promote it.
Okay, so then I have another question for you because I actually recently decided to change that mentality for myself when it comes to Raid Shadow Legends. I've decided that I will accept
Okay.
every single Raid Shadow Legends sponsorship that comes to me, with the caveat that
Okay.
all of the money that I make from it, I will donate to charity.
That's a really good one. That's definitely a really good one.
I mean, let's be straight. If that's like a
Yeah.
couple, let's say that's like 4 sponsorships, that's probably like $10,000 to charity, right? Or full campaigns.
I'm not sure how much you get, but
I
I
mean,
heard
like
too
it's
many
it's
issues.
possible
You're
though.
getting.
Like it just think about like my pride versus
Yeah,
$10,000 to charity. What's more important? I think ten
definitely,
thousand
but
dollars to charity is pretty good for me to just kind of accept
it
that
is. It is.
my
It is
pride is
definitely.
a bit of my own downfall.
If you take it that way, yes, definitely, that's really a good one.
Yeah, because
Definitely a good
I've
one.
turned down a lot of them, right? Because I just not for me,
Yeah,
not
same,
for me. Same Tim, same idea
same,
as you. We
same.
have a lot of integrity when it comes to that, but I think that
Yeah,
I think it's okay to kind of eat your own pride a little bit in situations like this where you're still doing something that's good, right? Like if I was just like, I'm gonna take these sponsorships, I'm just gonna keep the money. I don't really agree with what I'm doing, but I'm gonna just keep the money. Like that to me is what's wrong with it, right? But I think I'm
Well, it's a form of transparency, because if you would just start doing it, there's maybe that 5 people that would be like, he's a sellout right now. He does it for the money. So if people don't know, they'd be like, sellout. But the moment people would know, they would look up that video, click on it, like for the reason that they know that it goes to charity.
Yeah, and it's not even for the video. It's just like, in the past, I used to do a lot of charity work because I had a lot of time, right? Like when I was in high school, when I was in middle school, I used to play at the Children's Hospital. I used to like do, charity events.
That's
like
cool.
at the food mart, I used to do like the food drives and stuff like that. And I used to go to the soup kitchen and stuff. And like now that I stream every single day, I just don't have that time anymore, right? I have full-time content creator. Like I'm no longer a student. Like I have bills I have to pay and all that stuff. Like it's just a different world, right? So I want to be able to give back in my own way, right? And why not best do that with a good opportunity, right? Someone gives me an opportunity and says, "Hey, we can give you a good amount of money for some promotion of our game." It's like, sure, let's put it right to charity, right? Just see what we can do with it. Yeah, I wanted your opinion specifically on that because I know that you haven't taken any of the RSL sponsorships, so I thought it would be interesting to hear what you think about it. Right? Obviously, there are going to be people who are like, he's just doing it so he looks good. It's like, well, that's just a bonus. That's just a bonus.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, you do the things you want to do because you want to do them, and I think that doing good things. Okay, opinion. This is a controversial opinion, but I want your opinion on it. Do you think that if people do good things, regardless of their intentions, it's still okay? So like, a big CEO donates $100,000 to charity. Does he do it for the tax write-off? Does he do it because it looks good PR-wise? Does he do it because it's the goodness of his heart? You'll never know, right? But what do you think about it?
I think however people or other people would look at him, it's he would feel better about himself. And that's, for example, like I started watching this. Now we're going pretty deep in, I guess. I started watching this psychiatrist, which is specialized in streamers, YouTubers, and that kind of stuff. Guy's super smart. Yeah, Dr. K, exactly.
I've been watching Dr. K since day one. I love Dr. K.
Yeah, I love him. Like he's amazing, such a smart guy. And he explained karma. In the end, like, what does karma mean if you would take it scientifically? Is because karma actually supposedly works. But if I would be good to you, how would that make me be like better to someone else? Or how would that give me more rewards like on the other side? In the end, there's no connection between person A and person B. But the only thing that's common in both scenarios is me. So apparently by training to do something for someone else, you also just become a happier person or something. But it even helps with let's say you're always like that's where it came from. Like let's say you're always postponing your own work and you're always like slacking on it and those kind of things. Apparently the same mentality of giving to others, taking your time to do something for others, or giving any of your research, could be money, could be time, for someone else, also helps you to do the same for yourself. So you're also like less likely to start postponing things, or at least that's what's kind of the science behind it. So I think it is a good thing to do those things, because like even whatever anyone would think of you, I think it would make yourself a happier person. The only issue is what I have with it, and what I feel like what people have with charities in general, is because I did something good, I can do something bad right now. So it's a balance. And I disagree with that one. And that's something like I've been in South Africa for half a year. And let's say I'm not that much of a person of like doing a lot of charities or anything. Like I never did that many charities in my life. But I do have a pretty maybe interesting view on like charities and volunteering work. And I've been to South Africa for half a year. I was there doing an IT job with, and all the people I live with were doing like volunteering work. So you have a really different kind of environment, like in one house. And what I saw there with an issue that I had with charity is that a lot of people did like really bad things, and they were just trying to cleanse their sins by than doing volunteering work or just giving to charity. And especially if you have like these CEOs, like sometimes I get that kind of feeling that they're just trying to cleanse things for doing bad on the other side. But that's a difficult topic.
Yeah, because it's a morality thing, right? And it's always going to be a personal
Yeah.
thing. It's like, do you think that by doing something good you can abolish your sins, right? And it's actually institutionalized and taught that way for different things. The prison system is, well, maybe not prison system particularly, but the judicial system with law, for example, with community service, right? Sometimes instead of getting jail time or like county jail time, you're assigned community service, right? So it's kind of institutionalized that doing something good for the community can help like mediate the things that you've done that are bad, right? So I definitely see that perspective.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's it's a pretty good topic. You know, it's a hard one to discuss for sure.
It's pretty interesting because it's cause and effect, but then the question is which one came first.
It doesn't matter. Cause and effect is just a repeated cycle, right? It doesn't matter which one starts first if they just kind of continue.
True.
Right. It's a chicken and the egg thing. It's like discussing what came first doesn't matter because one requires one breeds the other, and then it's a continuous cycle, right?
Yeah, that's true. Interesting.
Yeah. It's definitely neat. I think that's a good place to actually leave the interview, the podcast, with that last topic. So for those of you who did make it all the way to the end of the video, I actually want your opinion on that. What do you think? Do you think that charity is something that is inherently good, inherently bad? Do you think that there's a huge moral topic or compass required when discussing it? You know, do you believe that things can be like that you if you've done bad things in the past, you can abolish your sins by providing community service or charity? Just tell me what you think. I'm sure both Seiishizo and I would be interested in actually reading those comments. As well as always, guys, if you like this, check it out. We have a whole bunch of different videos, videos in the playlist. Also, we've restarted the Summers War podcast, which I believe by the time this video is posted, you will be on that one, I think. Or soon. No, not the next one, but soon. We're trying to find a time.
Let me know.
Yeah, we're trying to find a time. It's just hard because everyone's time zones are different, right? So we'll see what we can do. For sure. But yeah, so we've restarted the podcast. We do those live on Twitch at Stoic's channel. They're always going to be on my YouTube channel though, so you guys can check them out there. But yeah, do you have any last words for the podcast or for the interview series? Getting mixed up, too many things going on.
No. Understand that one. No, not at all. Was good to be here, and I really love the series. So
I'm glad you could make it. Thank you so much for being a day one supporter with the series as well. It's been really uplifting and heartwarming to read your comments after each of the videos. So I'm really glad I could get you on, and I'm glad that we can have this conversation. So this is episode 2 of Experience Gained with our special guest, Seiishizo of Europe server. If you guys don't know him, all of the links will be below. Thank you for joining us. See ya.